Shalom, everybody. Welcome to the Jewish community of Sedona and the Verde Valley. I'm Rabbi Alicia Magal, and this is our Torah study, but it's during Passover. And so we really wanted to take a look at the Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, the most beautiful love poetry. And since it's part of our greater Torah, maybe not the first 5 books, which we call Torah with a capital T, but it's part of our teaching, Torah with a small t. And so we're going to say the blessing for Torah study, and then I'll introduce it, and we're going to dive inside the Song of Songs. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Holy One, a blessing, your presence fills creation. Thank you for giving us opportunities to connect with holiness, such as exploring, diving into, busying ourselves with, studying the words of Torah. Give me a big amen. Somebody unmute.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We have a special guest today. That's Margaret Sheperd, a friend of mine since we went to college together in Sarah Lawrence back in years ago. And Margaret is a calligrapher, and she taught the first student-taught class in Sarah Lawrence. That was calligraphy, and I took her class. And if you ever have gotten an envelope from me that had pretty writing, it's because of Margaret. So thank you, Margaret, for coming today. And I'm going to call on you in a little while, but I'd like to offer an introduction from another colleague, friend of mine, Rabbi Shefa Gold. Some of you may have this book, one of Shefa's books. You know, she loves chanting, and this is called In the Fever of Love, an Illumination of the Song of Songs. And it goes along with this, this CD, which is called Sheer Delight, a play on words, right? Sheer means song, and sheer delight, a journey through the Song of Songs. And it's absolutely wonderful. I'm going to read a little bit from her introduction. She asks the question that at a Passover Seder, she asked, do we have any other story? Does somebody have to lose when we win? Do we have to have freedom that costs anyone else a loss or at the expense of anyone else? And she said, we do have another story. And this is Rabbi Shefa speaking. I explained that tradition calls us to read and study and sing the Song of Songs during Passover. While the book of Exodus that we just were talking about, at Passover tells the story of our outer journey from slavery to freedom, the Song of Songs tells the inner story. Rabbi Akiva hinted at this when he called the song the Holy of Holies. Just as the Holy of Holies occupied the very center of the sanctuary, the Song of Songs stands at the center of the mystery of freedom. Freedom in our tradition is not merely a freedom from oppression, suffering, servitude. It is a freedom to be in direct relationship with God, our liberator. Remember that God says, I brought you out of Egypt to be your God, to be in relationship with you. And the moment we cut ourselves off from God, you know what? We're back in Egypt. We're back in the chains of slavery. So this is her introduction to the Song of Songs. She says, it tells the story of relationship, its yearnings and heartbreaks, its triumphs and pleasures. It shouts the glories of love and whispers its secrets. It moves from the relationship of a people with their God to the complex web of relationship in life. And Shefa feels that it sends her on a spiritual path of relationship where all her ideals are tested, and she's shown her own fears, impatience, pride, all the different emotions. And it also calls forth her greatest courage and love. So here's Rabbi Shefa Gold telling you her personal relationship with this Shir HaShirim. As I enter into the Song of Songs, I am tending the garden of 2 relationships at once, with my beloved partner in life and with God. These 2 relationships are in relationship with each other. They depend upon each other for their strength and stability. Shortly after my husband Rachmiel and I fell in love, she said, He said to me, I am so glad that you love God more than you love me. He could feel that my love for God was a deep pool, a resource from which all my love flowed. And it continues like that. So I really suggest this book if you want to understand Shir HaShirim. And another book that we're going to look into today with calligraphy. So I'm going to share my screen. I was going to start right with the verses, but I've just changed my mind, and I think we'll start with Margaret's book. So I'm going to share the screen. And Margaret, why don't you come on and welcome everybody, and we'll have a little conversation, and then we'll go into the literature itself.
Yep. Thank you, Alicia. It's really a treat to be here. I'm very happy to meet you all, even just this way. Alicia has been hearing about this book for years. It's the Song of Songs divided into 45, what seemed to me logical, separate poems. And each one has its own calligraphy design. And I think Alicia has a couple of slides to show.
Yes, here's the cover. And the actual title is The Song of Songs, the Bible's Great Love Poems in Calligraphy by Margaret Sheperd. This is the cover, and it has a rose on it. And maybe you want to explain why you picked a huge line like this for the of.
All through this set of verses, I had a sort of place and a time in mind. The place would be somewhere in the undefined Middle East. And the time was, you can correct me, 2,800 years ago, Alicia?
It could be, or it could be timeless, but go on.
Could be timeless. But I didn't feel that a imitation medieval style was the right idea, because these don't relate to what we think of as the calligraphy from the Gothic era in Northern Europe, which is what a lot of calligraphers revert to. They have decorated borders and decorated capitals and columns that have medieval motifs to them. But this, as you say, has to be timeless. And to do that, in the designs, I almost don't use anything else but letters. Absolutely. I think letters can carry the design. You don't need vines. You don't need those flowers unless they're made up of letters, as many of my flowers are, as many of my pages are. I think it's a challenge to put across a message just using the words.
Right, so here's an example. This is from the inner jacket, the dust cover it's called, of your book, and it actually comes from chapter 6, verse 13, but it's on the inside cover of the book, and it just enchanted me. You know, I was a dancer, and here you have this phrase, she dances while we gaze on her, turning between the lines of dancers. And you have this twirling, dancey line here, and you have two lines of text next to it. And I just thought this was so evocative of what the words were saying. I thought it was a very good example of how you just use the letters and the pen strokes to evoke what the words are saying.
Yeah, I didn't want to draw a picture of a dancer.
Right.
That to me would have been sort of pointless. What you want to see is what the letter strokes themselves can put across.
Exactly. So let's look at a few of the pages, then we'll dive into the actual text, and we may come back to refresh our memory of some of your lovely pages. Here is from chapter 1, verse 2 to 4, where you have, my beloved, that you would kiss me with the kisses of your mouth. And this is pretty hot stuff here. You want to say anything about this one?
I would say the whole Song of Songs is pretty hot. And I've had people in my audience or my gallery tours say, oh, well, I don't remember it that way. And I say, you just haven't read it recently. And you have probably read the kind of text and translation that they gave you at age 12 or 13, so that the top of your head wouldn't blow off. Because if you're reading this carefully and, paying attention, you almost can't do it in a mixed group.
Wow. Mary, you raised your hand. What would you like to say?
I'm having a little difficulty seeing what is in the center of the rectangle on this page. Can you describe it for me?
It's an O.
It's an O, and it's actually, it is a medieval style called grisaille, which means all gray. And actually, as though you took a black and white photograph of some decorations. But what I wanted there was a feeling that these were the ashes, the embers of the hot fire that you see. But you know that ashes and embers are still really hot. And so that's supposed to contrast to sort of emphasize the hot fire.
Wow, I'm so glad that Mary asked, because that I would not have noticed. Thank you. Let's look at another one. Here you have, I hear the voice of my beloved. He's on his way, bounding over the mountains and the hills. I'll be actually singing that this Friday. And it's through the lattice, the gaps in the lattice. And you have gaps here in between the sort of like the bamboo window or something like that. Anything you want to tell us about this?
This was a really tough one. And I can't do a design until I've understood the text. And you can go back and read this. And basically she's saying, I know that my beloved is looking through the cracks in the lattice at me in my bedroom. And I really love it. And I found that so hard to understand, how a young girl would put up with that and even embrace it. But then I finally figured out, this is something she's owning it. She's not like a victim or like somebody who doesn't have a choice. She's saying, this really turns me on. It's turning him on.
That's adorable. And this is where he's jumping like a stag or young gazelle. And we'll have a song about that as well.
Yeah.
Here we have, I have come into our garden, my beloved, my own, my dearest, my own. And you have actually kind of like a garden arbor here. Want to say anything about this one?
Yeah. Artists use everything they've ever seen in their lives when they, well, like probably what you do, Alicia. When you have to make a point, you don't just grab something off some scholarly book. You reach into your own experience. And for this one, of course, I wanted to use an arch because you're going into a garden. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But once I started working with that arch, I'm looking for a picture here. I realized that in my family, the picture of my mother getting married, she's wearing in 1933 the kind of sort of draped veil that then came down from a catch point right here.
Oh my goodness, I see like a woman's face with a veil and hair now that you mention that.
Yeah. And I actually put a picture on the facing page because to me this is a person. This is a moment. This is a kind of wedding outfit. The archway into the garden is wearing a bridal veil.
Lovely. That's beautiful.
I couldn't use my mother's picture because she had her eyes closed. And so that one picture, I had to go find somebody else.
I understand. So here we have, let us go to the vineyard and see if the bud and blossom are on the grapevine. We're looking in to see if spring has sprung, basically, if things are blooming. And it's an invitation. can you explain what happened with the V here? That's quite extraordinary.
No, I can't. I mean, I don't like to just default to enlarging the first letter. I mean, that's so obvious. And that's so sort of knee-jerk medieval. The V seemed like the way to go, and it seemed like a bunch of grapes.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is actually a song and a folk dance that I will demonstrate in some way when we get to it. Here's one of your favorites.
Oh.
And there's a song that Debbie Friedman wrote to it, which I will also present.
I can't wait to hear that, because this one has perplexed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because it talks about love as this destructive force. And it almost dwells on it. Talks about envy, love is strong as death, and even its embers are coals of fire. And I just wanted to show how that might look, the actual words being coals of fire. And I did use pen strokes in addition to letters.
Got it. Anita had her hand up, so let me hear what she has.
Yeah, do you have these wonderful explanations that you're giving us now? Do you have those in the book?
Yes, much more. I mean, the book.
Oh, this is so amazing and so wonderful.
I'm going to read you some of the descriptions. You will not believe the detail about the letters themselves.
Okay, it's worth $30 on Amazon.
Okay. So let's go back now, and I want to go into the actual words which we're going to read together, but there's one page that just stopped me, and it was, I didn't take a picture of it, but it was in chapter 1, verses 8 and 9, where it talked about where do you graze your flock? And Margaret went into this whole thing about the W's, reminded her of sheep, and she has a picture of a W, and then she sort of added ears and the top of the back and made it look like a little lamb. And every W she put green grass under. I mean, it's a page that you don't see, but I just thought that was adorable. Things remind her of something else, which reminds her of something else, and she brings it in, and the commentary is just brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to now share with you all the actual text from Sepharia, Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, and I'm going to chant the very beginning in the trope that is special for Shir HaShirim. Shir HaShirim asher li Shlomo, Yishakeni v'nishikot pihu, ki tovim dodecha miyayin, ki tovim dodech miyayin, l'reach shmanecha tovim shemen turak shemecha, alaken alamot ahevucha. It's an amazing trope. It's very different from anything that we've heard before. It's not like Echa Lamentations. It's not like the Purim trope. It's not like Torah trope. It's not like Haftarah trope. It's quite specific. And it has a sort of a haunting reach. La la, that's a very unusual thing. La 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 la. But in the end, with all the yearning and the tension of the melody, it does resolve. So I just wanted to show you that. Now let's go back. Song of, and it's attributed to Solomon. Oh, give me the kisses of your mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. If you want to look up kisses sweeter than wine, you'll find many versions of that. Let's go on, and I'm going to ask Anita to start reading, and we'll do it in English, and we may go back and forth to look at the illustrations again.
Your ointments yield a sweet fragrance. Your name is like finest oil. Therefore do maidens love you. Draw me after you. Let us run. The king has brought me to his chambers. Let us delight and rejoice in your love, savoring it more than wine. Like new wine, they love you.
Thank you. Now this is interesting because I have it in speaker view. Let me just, I can't change it because I'm recording. So I don't know who else is there actually. So I'm going to ask Anita to call on people who read, and you just call on them as we get to each few. And if I have to stop, I'll just stop you.
Okay, let me ask Linda Waddell, are you able to read? Starting with I am dark but comely,
And unmuting.
and unmuting, of course.
Whoops, sorry. Okay. I am dark but comely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the pavilions of Solomon.
Thank you. Let's have another reader.
Mary?
Don't stare at me because I'm swarthy, because the sun has gazed upon me. My mother's sons quarreled with me. They made me guard the vineyards. My own vineyard I did not guard.
A lot of symbolism there. Go on.
Tell me, you whom I love so well, where do you pasture your sheep? Where do you rest them at noon? Let me not be as one who strays beside the flocks of your fellows. If you do not know, O fairest of women, go follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your kids by the tents of the shepherds.
Thank you.
Hey, Diane?
Who?
I have likened you, my darling, to a mare in Pharaoh's chariot. Your cheeks are comely with plaited wreaths, your neck with strings of jewels. We will add wreaths of gold to your spangles of silver. While the king was on his couch, my nard gave forth its fragrance.
Right, that is a kind of beautiful ointment that was like a spikenard. It was considered a very costly and beautiful ointment with fragrance. Go on.
My beloved to me is a bag of mirth lodged between my breasts. My beloved to me is a spray of henna blooms from the vineyards of En-Gedi.
And En-Gedi, you know, has many waterfalls. It's an oasis. It's a beautiful spot in the south of Israel.
This is perfect for Michael.
Thank
Michael?
you. Ah, you are fair, my darling. Ah, you are fair with your dove-like eyes. And you, my beloved, are handsome, beautiful indeed. Our couch is in a bower. Cedars are the beams of our house, cypresses the rafters. I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. Like a lily among thorns, so is my darling among the maidens. Like an apple tree among trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the youths. I delight to sit in his shade, and his fruit is so sweet to my mouth. He brought me to the banquet room, and his banner of love was over me. Sustain me with, go on.
Susan McClary?
Okay. Sustain me with raisin cakes, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. His left hand was under my head, his right arm embraced me. I adjure you, O maidens of Jerusalem, by gazelles or by hinds of the field, do not wake or rouse love until it please. Hark, my beloved, there he comes, leaping over mountains, bounding over hills.
A stop right there. This is one of the songs that we'll sing for Shabbat. And many of these became songs, especially for Shabbat, because Shabbat is like a time of love and connection and intimacy. Kol Dehudi, Kol Dehudi, Kol Dehudi, Hine Zeba, Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Kol Dodi, Hine Zeba, Medaleg el Heharim, Mekapetz al Hagvaot, Medaleg el Heharim, Mekapetz al Hagvaot, and then it repeats. But you just feel the jumping and the leaping, and you can see why that became a very popular song in Israel. All right, a reader?
Okay, Janet.
My beloved is like a gazelle or like a young stag. There he stands behind our wall, gazing through the window, peering through the lattice. My beloved spoke thus to me, arise, my darling, my fair one, come away. For now the winter is past and the rains are over and gone. The blossoms have appeared in the land. The time of pruning has come. The song of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The green figs form on the fig tree. The vines in blossom give off fragrance. Arise, my darling, my fair one, come away.
Thank you. Now, if Yitzhak were on this call, he would start singing, Yonati Pigavei Hasela. He has a whole song that he sings sometimes like that. We'll have to ask him another time. So let's read this.
Let's try Terry without singing.
Good. Oh, my dove, in the cranny of the rocks, hidden by the cliff, let me see your face. Let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet, and your face is comely. Catch us, the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards, for your vineyard is in blossom. My beloved is mine, and I am his, who browse among the lilies.
Stop right there. We're also going to sing this on Friday night. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh b'shoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh b'shoshanim. Now, in the folk song, the next verse comes from a different verse, but also from the Song of Songs. Who is this coming up from the desert? Mi zot ola min hamidbar. And I'll be singing that this Friday night. But just so much fun to see where it comes from. All right, continue reading.
Terry is continuing.
When the day blows gently and the shadows flee, set out, my beloveds, swift as a gazelle or a young stag for the hills of spices.
New reader, chapter 3.
Linda on iPad.
Linda Patent.
Linda Pat.
Yeah, thank you. Upon my couch at night, I sought the one I love. I sought, but found him not. I must rise and roam the town, through the streets and through the squares. I must seek the one I love. I sought, but found him not. I met the watchmen who patrol the town. Have you seen the one I love? Scarcely had I passed them when I found the one I love. I held him fast, I would not let him go, till I brought him to my mother's house, to the chamber of her who conceived me. I adjure you, O maidens of Jerusalem, by gazelles or by hinds of the field, do not wake or rouse, love until it please.
This is a very interesting kind of a manual of lovemaking about waiting until one is aroused. I mean, Margaret said it right. This is not what you'd learn in Sunday school, but we're a mature audience, and so we can learn a lot from this particular one. Here's like that second verse. Mizotola min hamidbar. You know, they combined. Very often songwriters will pick and choose different verses and put them together to make a folk song. This is one of those examples. Another reader?
It's perfect for Steve Gladstein. Steve, are you reading? If you are, unmute, please.
We'll take another reader, please.
Okay, is Margaret reading or are you?
Sure, why not? And if you have a different translation, this is a good time to tell us about how you picked the particular translation that you chose.
So where are we? Are we to
We were at
Daughters of
3:6.
Jerusalem?
Mhm.
Who is she that comes up from the desert, like columns of smoke, in clouds of myrrh and frankincense, of all the powders of the merchant? There is Solomon's couch, encircled by 60 warriors of the warriors of Israel, all of them trained in warfare, skilled in battle, each with a sword on thigh because of terror by night. King Solomon made him a palanquin of wood from Lebanon. He made its posts of silver, its back of gold, its seat of purple wool. Within it was decked with love by the maidens of Jerusalem. O maidens of Zion, go forth and gaze upon King Solomon, wearing the crown that his mother gave him on his wedding day, on his day of bliss.
So tell us something. I'm going to stop the share just for a moment before we go to chapter 4. And I'd like you to say something about, you didn't do it in Hebrew, you did it in English, but that's a translation. So how did you do your research?
I found a website that had 50 different translations. And I just kept reading through various translations, some from the Geneva Bible, even before the King James Version, and some from 10 years ago. There's one by Channa Block. Hannah, sorry. I didn't agree with everything she translated, but her notes were like a year of education in how you can read the Song of Solomon. So I would say, if you're wondering what translation to use, just trust your own instincts. Go read a couple of translations, compare them, read them out loud, read them to a 12-year-old. See if they make sense for you. And usually I have to say to an audience, well, depending on what your religion is, because there are some religions where you are not allowed to read anything but the prescribed translation. But I don't believe in that. I think you can trust people's ear and their intellect and their soul to
I'm
know.
so glad you said that. I really wanted everyone to hear that. All right, so we're in chapter 4. Let's have a new reader.
Okay, it's my turn.
Hmm.
You are fair, my darling. You are fair. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats streaming down Mount Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of ewes climbing up from the washing pool. All of them bear twins, and not one loses her young.
I think this is so funny, going through every part of the face and the body and making it like animals and like elements of nature. So some of it really makes me smile. Go on.
Your lips are like a crimson thread. Your mouth is lovely. Your brow behind your veil gleams like a pomegranate split open. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built to hold weapons, hung with 1,000 shields, all the quivers of warriors. Your breasts are like 2 fawns, twins of a gazelle, browsing among the lilies. When the day blows gently and the shadows flee, I will betake me to the Mount of Myrrh, to the hill of frankincense. Every part of you is fair, my darling. There is no blemish in you.
Now that's interesting. We talked about the sacrifices having to be with no blemish. There's something like this is, you are perfection. You are not blemished. And when you're in love, that's how you feel about your beloved, right? Everything is just so perfect. Of course, then you get married and we could talk about what it's like later, but this is a different stage of like, there's no blemish in you. That line just really gets me. All right, next reader.
Linda Waddell.
Oh, from Lebanon, come with me. From Lebanon, my bride, with me. Trip down from
Amana's
from Amana's peak, from the peak of Senir, and
Hermon.
Hermon, from the dens of lions, from the hills of leopards.
Thank you. Next one.
Mary,
You have captured my heart, my own, my bride. You have captured my heart with one glance of your eyes, with one coil of your necklace.
I'm going to stop you there just to tell you something personal. Yitzhak, whom you know and is the sweetest, and knows these verses that are just part of his background, he often would say to me, Libaftini achoti kala, libaftini. And then he would say, Be'achat me'enaich, and he thinks that's very funny. So he says, you have captured my heart with one of your eyes. And he just goes into gales of laughter, thinking that's just so funny. So I just wanted to share that people use these. They will actually say it as a compliment. And I hear this quite often. Libaftini achoti kala. Now, we also remember when Abraham passed off his wife as a sister, it comes from this phrase, achoti kala. Now, it doesn't come from that, but I'm just saying there is this relationship of protecting a wife like you would protect a sister, or loving your spouse like a family relationship that is a blood relationship. So this goes together. Achoti kala, you often hear my sister, my bride. So I just wanted to point that out, how that's very biblical, and we've questioned it, but here it is, and it's quite often used. So I just want you to know that I get that compliment, but he says it kind of with a laughter, one of your eyes. Never mind.
it's also part of Dodi Lee.
Yes. Li baftini achoti kal. Yes, it is. It's absolutely right. So it's one glance of your eyes, but he always says it as with one of your eyes. So next time you see him, you can say, we know what you say to Alicia with one coil of your necklace. All right, Mary, go on. I interrupted you.
How sweet is your love, my own, my bride. How much more delightful your love than wine, your ointments more fragrant than any spice. Sweetness drops from your lips, O bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue, and the scent of your robes is like the scent of Lebanon.
So here we have the voice, hearing. We have the view, the perfection of the beauty. And we also have the scent. You know how sometimes you'll have a shirt or a pillowcase or something of a beloved, and you smell it and you go, that's my beloved. And I even know, it's kind of a sad thing to say, but sometimes when someone passes away, you go into the closet and I know with my mother's clothes, something I kept it, sometimes it smells of her perfume, and the scent reminds you of the beloved in a very visceral way. So I just thought it was really important to bring that out, how all of the senses are being used here. Gan Na'ul. This is an image that we often see, a garden locked. You see, she's a virgin. They haven't made love, and this is Gan Na'ul, often used in that framework. We need a new reader.
Michael,
A garden locked is my own, my bride. A fountain locked, a sealed up spring. Your limbs are of an orchid of pomegranates.
An orchard.
Orchard, thank you. And of all luscious fruits, of henna and of nard. What is nard?
It's a ointment that is very fragrant and was considered very expensive and of very high quality.
Thank you. Nard and saffron, fragrant reed and cinnamon, with all aromatic woods, myrrh and aloes, all the choice perfumes. You are a garden spring, a well of fresh water, a rill of Lebanon.
This next part is also part of Dodi Lee. Uri, Tzafon,
Yep.
Bui, Teman. Keep going.
Awake, O north wind, come, O south wind, blow upon my garden, that its perfume may spread. Let my beloved come to his garden and enjoy its luscious fruits.
Next reader, chapter.
Diane,
I have come to my garden, my own, my bride. I have plucked my mirth and spice, eaten my honey and honeycomb, drunk my wine and my milk. Eat, lovers, and drink. Drink deep of love. I was asleep, but my heart was wakeful. Hark! My beloved knocks. Let me in, my own, my darling, my faultless dove. Oh, brother. For my head is drenched with dew, my locks with the damp of night.
Doesn't this sound Shakespearean? You can just imagine
Mhm,
Romeo and Juliet. I mean, it just really, I can see the scene. Go on.
I have taken off my robe. Was I to don it again? I have bathed my feet. Was I to soil them again? My beloved took his hand off the latch, and my heart was stirred for him. I rose to let in my beloved. My hands dripped mirth, my fingers flowing mirth upon the handles of the bolt. I opened the door for my beloved, but my beloved has turned and gone. I was faint because of what he said. I sought, but found him not. I called, but he did not answer.
Can just see it. I mean, I can just see the stage set, right? He comes, she's not ready. She comes, he's gone. Oh, it's the coming and going and the yearning and the fleeing. I mean, it's just beautiful. A new reader.
Susan. Susan?
Yeah, I met the watchmen who patrol the town. They struck me, they bruised me. The guards of the walls stripped me of my mantle. I adjure you, O maidens of Jerusalem, if you meet my beloved, tell him this, that I am faint with love. How is your beloved better than another, O fairest of women? How is your beloved better than another, that you adjure us so? My beloved is clear-skinned and ruddy, preeminent among 10,000. His head is fine as gold, his locks are curled and black as a raven. His eyes are like doves by watercourses, bathed in milk, set by a brimming pool. His cheeks are like beds of spices, banks of perfume. His lips are like lilies, they drip flowing myrrh. His hands are rods of gold, studded with beryl. His belly a tablet of ivory adorned with sapphires. His legs are like marble pillars set in sockets of fine gold. He is majestic as Lebanon, stately as cedars. His mouth is delicious, and all of him is delightful. Such is my beloved, such is my darling, O maidens of Jerusalem.
Gorgeous. So you have sometimes he's describing her, sometimes she's describing him. The people go back and forth and back and forth. Anna halakto dech hayafa banashim, Anna halakto dech ufachsenu imach dodi yarad legano learugot haposem. Another lovely folk song, and I can just hear Yitzhak singing that. Let's hear that in English.
And I sang it quietly.
I heard.
Janet.
Whither has your beloved gone, O fairest of women? Whither has your beloved turned? Let us seek him with you. My beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the gardens and to pick lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He browses among the lilies.
We have a repeat of that. Ani ledodi v'dodi li haroeh b'shoshanim. And on the canopy, the chuppah that I use for weddings, I have this embroidered. Ani ledodi v'dodi li. I'm my beloved is mine. That's just.
And it's often inscribed on wedding rings.
On wedding rings, correct, because it's so mutual. Keep going.
You are beautiful, my darling, as Tirzah, comely as Jerusalem, awesome as bannered hosts. Turn your eyes away from me, for they overwhelm me. Your hair is like a flock of goats streaming down from Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of ewes climbing up from the washing pool. All of them bear twins, and not one loses her young.
You haven't lost any teeth. You got that?
Oh,
Go ahead.
Your brow behind your veil gleams like a pomegranate split open. There are 60 queens and 80 concubines and damsels without number, but only one is my dove, my perfect one, the only one of her mother, the delight of her who bore her. Maidens see and acclaim her, queens and concubines, and praise her. Who is she that shines through like the dawn, beautiful as the moon, radiant as the sun, awesome as bannered hosts? I went down to the nut grove. It doesn't answer the question. I went down to the nut
No, it's
grove.
exclamation. It should be exclamation.
Oh, I went down to the nut grove to see the budding of the veil, to see if the vines had blossomed, if the pomegranates were in bloom.
Please
it's a
stop.
beautiful dance.
This is the
It's a
dance.
gorgeous dance.
Elginate goes, yaradeti, liraot beibe hanachal, liraot hafacha hagefen, henetzu harimonim. And this is the first dance that I danced with Yitzhak in his kibbutz, and he was a fabulous folk dancer. That's all I'll say. He was a fabulous folk dancer, and I didn't know that he didn't know any other kind of dance, but boy, was he a good folk dancer. And we danced this, and it's a lot of jumping and turning, and it's a partner dance. And so I smile when I see this El Ginate goes. This one really caught my eye with the talent of Yitzhak Magal. And before I knew it, my desire set me amid the chariots of Aminadab. There you go. Shuvi Shuvi, who's reading?
Jerry.
Okay.
Turn back, O maid of Shalem, turn back, that we may gaze upon you. Why will you gaze at the
Shulamite,
Shulamite in the
Mahanaim.
dance? How lovely are your feet in sandals, O daughter of nobles. Your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of a master's hand. Your navel is like a round goblet. Let mixed wine not be lacking. Your belly is like a heap of wheat, hedged with lilies. Your breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle.
I bet you're going to be saying this to your wife later, right? Keep going.
Your neck is like a tower of ivory, your eyes like pools of Heshbon. By the gate of Beth Rabbin, your nose is like the Lebanon tower that faces Damascus. The head upon you is like crimson wool, the locks of your head like purple. A king is held captive in the tresses. How fair you are, O beautiful. How fair you are, how beautiful, O love with all its rapture. Your stately form is like the palm, your breasts like clusters. I say, let me climb the palm, let me take hold of its branches. Let your breasts be like clusters of grapes, your breath like fragrance of apples, and your mouth like the choicest wine, that it flow to my beloved as new wine. Woo! Gilding your lips and gilding
Right.
over the lips of sleepers. I am my beloved's. Love it.
And his desire is for me.
Thank you. Okay.
Linda
I have
Patton.
to say, Rabbi,
Yeah,
I have to say goodnight. It's 2:00 here.
you go
I
to
stayed-
sleep.
I'm really, this is beautiful. Absolutely. I've learned a lot. And thank you to your friend with the calligraphy. It's beautiful. So Chag Sameach, everyone.
Chag Sameach.
Chag
Shabbat
Sameach.
Shalom.
Sleep well and heal well, and we hope to see you back soon.
Right. And have a good Shabbos tomorrow.
Thank you.
Safe
Shabbat shalom.
travels. Linda Patton.
Come, my beloved, let us go into the open. Let us lodge among the henna and henna shrubs. Let us go early to the vineyards. Let us see if the vine has flowered, if its blossoms have opened, if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give my love to you. The mandrakes yield their fragrance. At our doors, all our choice fruits, both freshly picked and long stored, have I kept my beloved for you. If only it could be as with a brother, as if you had nursed at my mother's breast. Then I could kiss you when I met you in the street, and no one would despise me.
You understand what they're saying here? No one would have any problem if a woman went up to her brother and kissed him in the street. But God forbid, if it would be anyone not related, then it would be impossible. So she's saying, I wish you were like my brother, then I could just hug you in the street. Go on.
I would lead you, I would bring you to the house of my mother, of her who taught me. I would let you drink of the spiced wine of my pomegranate juice. He left his hand, his left hand was under my head, his right hand caressed me. I adjure you, O maidens of Jerusalem, do not wake or rouse love till it please.
You understand that there's a lot of repetition here, but that's almost like a refrain of the readiness of love. And so, yes, there is repetition in the Song of Songs, and it becomes more familiar as you come across it again. Keep going.
Who is she that comes up from the desert, leaning upon her beloved? Under the apple tree I roused you. It was there your mother conceived you. There she bore you, conceived you. Let me be a seal upon your heart, like the seal upon your hand. For love is fierce as death. Passion is mighty as
Sheol, which is
Sheol.
sort of like hell, but it's sort of this waiting place after one dies.
Its darts are darts of fire, a blazing flame. Vast floods cannot quench love, nor rivers drown it. If a man offered all his wealth for love, he would be laughed to scorn.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the share there because I want to show you that Debbie Friedman, in her large book of Sing Unto God, it's an anthology. There's this one beautiful song that she wrote for the wedding of her cousins, and it's called Set Me for a Seal. And the text is based on chapter 8, verses 6 and 7 that you just read. And it goes like this. Set me for a seal upon your heart, for I am with you till the end of time. For many waters cannot quench this love of ours. Many waters cannot quench this love of ours. From the hills I will give my love to you, like the flowers open in spring. Come away with me, my beloved, my friend. Come away till the end of time. Set me for a seal upon your heart. Isn't that lovely?
Wow.
So I
Oh,
wanted to point out
wow.
to Margaret, who thought
Oh.
that perhaps this was talking about love so fierce and like fire. Look how she put it together, that many waters can't quench it because it's like such a flame. What a different spin to put on it. And then say, come away, to combine the verse, come away. I will give my love to you like the flowers open in spring. Come away with me, my beloved, my friend. Come away till the end of time. And so the way this is put together, and it's not the only time that someone took verses, put them together, and put a new melody to it, put a new combination to it, and then used it for something lovely like a wedding, or like a bar mitzvah, or like something else. There's so many examples. I really wanted to show you that. So we'll go back to the text, and I hope that you can stay with us a little bit longer than we usually do. Here he talks about, we have a little sister whose breasts are not yet formed. What shall we do for our sister when she is spoken for? So here you have, again, a different voice about guarding chastity, actually. And then she speaks, I am a wall, my breasts are like towers. I became in his eyes as one who finds favor. And they talk about Solomon's vineyard. And again, the guards. There's a lot about the guards. And that she has her own vineyard. Anyway, it's a lot of imagery that is just so beautiful. But I would like to move on to the last verses. Here we go. This is
I have my very own vineyard. You may have the 1,000, O Solomon, and the guards of the fruit 200. O you who linger in the garden, a lover is listening. Let me hear your voice. Hurry, my beloved. Sweet as a gazelle or a young stag to the hills of spices. Swift as a gazelle or a young stag to the hills of spices.
Thank you. So that is most of the Song of Songs. And I want to now go back over some of Margaret's pages, and I think we'll understand it a little bit better. As a matter of fact, I want to go to this, Oh My Beloved. I'm going to share that. And now you have actually heard the verse and you will hear it again. So this is 7:11 to 13. Why don't you speak more about this while I opening up, Margaret?
And in fact, that should be our motto. Unmute yourself.
I love it.
Yeah. One of the things I love about this passage is that it reminds us that they lived a lot of their life outside, or they wanted to. They saw this as a wonderful place to go and get together, just the two of them. And you did mention about all the guarding and the staying inside, but I see this as sort of what they idealize as the place where you can really be in love. I mean, what's more productive than a vineyard?
Beautiful. So I'm going to read from this translation, the JPS translation, and some of it is on the page, and perhaps you can follow that. I am my beloved's, and his desire is for me. Come, my beloved, let us go into the open. Let us lodge among the henna shrubs. Let us go early to the vineyards. Let us see if the vine has flowered, if its blossoms have opened, if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give my love to you. The mandrakes yield their fragrance. At our doors are all choice fruits, both freshly picked and long stored have I kept, my beloved, for you. So there's all this imagery of opening and of ripening and of what is in flower, what is in season, and that she wants to be among those that are ripening and opening and in season. It's just so charming and lovely.
Yeah.
Let's see another one. Also, this one, I will never see that page again without thinking of your mother's wedding veil and hairdo. That's just so charming. And back to this one, kisses sweeter than wine. Here we have, if you would only kiss me with the kisses of your mouth. And here we have the caresses. Your love will be our joy. Draw me in your footsteps. Let us make haste. You allowed your words not just to be what you call calligraphy in terms of writing the words, but you had the words dance and move and express by their size, by the style, by the what's large, what's small, what color it is, something that gives another layer to your explanation. So I really want to thank you, Margaret, for being with us at this day, and to tell people how marvelous your book is. And I'm actually going to go to the other view, gallery view, so I can see all of you, and stop the share. And thank everybody for coming today, and especially to Margaret. So we have a symbol for giving people love. Let's all do that for Margaret. Let's just, yeah, a lot of energy coming to you. Take it in, take it in, take it in from everybody.
I need every bit. I'm going to say goodnight, and It's 8 o'clock here.
Got
And
it.
thank you for letting me join your group for one night.
Oh, you're so welcome. Come anytime. And thank you to all of you who came to our Torah study today. May we all find love in our lives that we can describe in such beautiful terms. May we use the words of love for God as well as for humans, and realize something that Anita always reminds me that I said one time, and that we switch back and forth with this quote. Whenever you're having a conversation with a person, you're also having it with the Holy One. And so use your lips for blessing, and use the connection with relationships as a holy connection. Thank you all today.